So this is Baruch Flashman, and we're here at the Tikkun Elevator in Kollel. This is the Inyan of Pesach. It's Drush Vav, and this is an introduction to the Tiv of Kavanos is bringing us to try to understand the secrets of Pesach. And basically he says that there's two different types of mochin. There are a mochin of katnas and mochin of godless, but depending on where the mochin are generated from, depends on whether we're getting to katnas rishon or katnas sheni, or we're going to godless rishon or godless sheni. So this is important for the understanding of what's going on in Pesach. So these may be new ideas, but let's go and take a look at some of these ideas. So he says, when the mochin start to pour into Zeranpin, who partzuf haneshama comes to the partzuf haneshama. Now remember that we said that the partzufim could also be called nefesh, ruach, neshama, chay, yechida. Those are also the names of lights, the levels of light. So the lowest, the most outside level of light, which would be the most physical one, or the least light, would be the nefesh would be nefesh, and then ruach would be the next. So Zeranpin is only a ruach and a nefesh. That's all he is with Malchus, is a ruach and a nefesh. Shemamenet tzarich l'kabel misha partzufim pratim shehem the ranchi the deshama. So there are 5 partzufim here. Now this particular, maybe this is what someone was asking before, that the partzuf of the ranchi, of the nefesh, ruach, neshama, chay, yechida. There's a partzuf that every partzuf has a naranchi within it. And every naranchi is a partzuf. Of Izmana Ivor, so at the time of conception, or let's say the embryonic stage, whom mekabelas parts of the nefesh, the neshama. So then Zeranpin is receiving from neshama the parts of the nefesh, he nikras parts of Ivor. Of Izmana Yanika, then there's a higher level with greater mochin coming in, whom mekabelas as a ruach, the neshama, hanikra parts of Yanika. Uvizmana godless, now that's what is received, that's a katnas. So in other words, katnas is 6 kitzvos. So kitzvos is chesed, gevurah, teferes, netzach, hod, and yisod. But what about chokhmah, bina, and das? What about that? He said that doesn't come in katnas. Uvizmana godless, umekabelas parts of a neshama, chay, yechida, the neshama, then he gets the higher level of neshama, which is the 3 upper lights. Because Nekroim, Katnas, V'Gadlus Rishon, all of these are called Godless and Katnas and Godless Rishon. Shahar Beklal Lusin, because in general, as we look at the whole system, in parts of a neshama, they come from the parts of the neshama, Shekiba Lezelam Meyasos, that Zeranpin gets from the sub parts of Yisrael Savat Tavuna, which is below Abba and Ima Eloyin. Shuhu madrega rishona tzarich lachamshik. So this is the first madrega that it has to be extended down. V'hakatnas shuhu ha'iva v'chanika hu katnas rishon. So the katnas, which represents just the stage of Iver and Yanika, which is also could be called nefesh and ruach. That is the nefesh and the ruach of neshama. V'hagadlas shuhu haneshama chay yechida. That would be the nachi, called the nachi. Hu hagadlas rishon. Now he says, Achakach mamshik osa chaseder mamash. So this continues on. Kashemekabel is parts of Achayim Abba and Ima. When the next parts of comes in, it comes from a higher place. That it's come from Abba and Ima. Shebedachida bekabel is a katnas sheni. So first he gets katnas sheni. This would katnas sheni. The hinder is parts of a Iber or parts of a Yanikasha, parts of Achaya. So coming from the parts of Kolchaya, you're going to get one, Iver corresponds to Nefesh, and Yanika corresponds to the concept of Ruach. So this would be, Iver is the Nukva, on the most outside part, and Yanika is slightly inside, that would be for us corresponding to Zeranpin, shell parts of Chaya, but of that parts of Kol Chaya, which is a different light. And then after the 3 most inner partsufim come Shalachaya Shehu of Chaya. A Nikra Gadlus Sheni is called Gadlus Sheni Shehem Neshama Chay Yechida, the Chaya. So this language may be a little bit tricky, but I'm working on it. V'chein Osel Seder. So this order we're talking about here, Mamish parts of a shlishi that comes from the parts of a shlishi who parts of a yechida, shemekabel me'erik anpin. This comes from Erik Anpin, a tremendously high level. Nimsa shachakatne v'chagadol heim ma'osach ha'bechina b'chadrega. So the godless and godless, it comes from that particular, what particular Vidrega we're talking about. El shachakatnes hu ha'partzuf, so ella shachakatnes hu ha'partzufim ha'chitzonim, they're the outside parts of him. V'hagadlos hu ha'partzim ha'panimim. So depending on where the light is coming from, if it's coming from neshama, then it's going to refer to Yisrael Sabbath Tavuna. If it's coming from Chaya, then it's coming from Abba and Ima Eloin. And if it's coming from Yechida, then it's coming from the core itself, which is Eric Anpin. So every single one of these parts can also be looked at as a complete Salam. Now he's going to explain what Salam means here. It's a nice thing to know. It's a complete Salam, Hakalo Miyud Sephiris, which has Yud Sephiris in it. Hanai Shabosa, the lowest part, which would be the Netzachot Yisod of it, Niknasim Betog Zeran Pin Atzmo. So this is, that part comes in, Vuku, Hanikrat Tzadi Tzalim, that's the Tzadi Tzalim. That's the part that comes into Zeran Pin himself. V'chachagad v'chachbad shebo makifim alazah. So then the chagat and the kachbad that we're talking about, they surround the Zeranpin. They can't go into Zeranpin because their lights are too high. Those are the lights of Chai Yechida. So he says, Alamad Mem Ditzalim, Alamad Hu HaChagat, Umem Hu HaKachbad. In other words, the top part and the middle part. Ubepratos Nikra called Selim Shalom Narantchi. So every Selim can also be called a Narantchi because they represent those lights. The Nefesh and Ruach would be referred to the Tzadi of the Tzalim. There would be the Narana of the Tzalim, the Nefesh, the Ruach, and the Neshama of the Tzalim actually go into Zeranpin, but the Chayin Yechida remain outside, and they are the Laman and the Mem of this concept called Tzalim. Nipsav should be called parts of a koilel yesh kaf hey bechinas pratia. So it comes out like this, that in every single parts of, there are 25 different parts. Let me get a drink here and see if I can clear my throat. Try. Shahari because the yesh bekal echad and the rantki, it's because each one of them has a narantki. Should call echad kolam and the rantki. Each one of them is incorporated within a narantki. V'ayda benefesh haklali. So he says like that and explain it more. He says, when you talk about the concept of nefesh, which is the most outside light, yesh bo atzmo nefesh and ruach neshama chai yechida, it has a narantki of its own. Shal nefesh, that is the narantki of nefesh. Nimsa shenefesh haklali, so the concept of nefesh in general, kola besocha chamisha bechinat pratius, it has 5 different parts. V'hine b'kol echad machamisha elu yesh chamisha bechinat pratius ba'atzmo. So in every single part, there's 5 more. The hainu shenefesh, the nefesh yesh atzmo narantchi. So the nefesh of the nefesh has a narantchi. Shehim chamisha bechinos bo atzma. They say in other words, the narantchi and it's fine and it's its own narantchi. So he said v'keina ruach, same thing. The nefesh yesh gam narantchi. So the ruach of nefesh. So nefesh has a chaya. Has a nefesh the nefesh, ruach the nefesh, neshama the nefesh, chaya the nefesh, and Yechida the nefesh. Yesh gam narantchi, it also has a narantchi. V'chein the neshama the nefesh yesh narantchi, also the neshama the nefesh also has a narantchi. V'chein achayach the nefesh yesh narantchi. So you could just keep going on, and all of them have a narantchi. V'chein the yechida the nefesh yesh narantchi. So we're just talking about the narantchi of nefesh. So each one of them has its own narantchi. V'nimsa sheparts of nefesh haklali kola b'socha kafhei bechinas pratia. So it comes out that the nefesh in general has within it 25 bechinas, specific bechinas. The fizecha bezam b'techilas et tzilusa. So that zah begins to form up. Sheyesh bo parts of nefesh haklali, or parts of ruach haklali. That's where he starts out to begin with. He starts out as just being a nefesh and a ruach. It already has 15 bechinos inside of him. Because all of the five, all of the Narantchi, are going to have their own Narantchi. So now Zer Anpin is going to have to be able to receive three more. That is the parts of the neshama, the parts of the chaya, and the parts of the shivim another 3 times 25. He says, how's that go? He says, Kof he miyasos, Kof he Abba and Ima loin, the Kof he marich. V'lamaisa heim chamisha bechina be called darga v'darga. So it comes out like this. There are 5 different bechinos in every single level. Kof he bechinas b'yisrael sabbat, v'kof he bechinas b'tavuna, and also 25 with tavuna. Zeru v'dregas and neshama. That's the level of neshama. Kof he bechinas b'abba v'kof he bechinas b'ima. Those are Abba and Ima Elohim, which are up above Yisrael sabbat tavuna. Zeru v'dregas chaya. Kof he bechinas b'dechurach v'de'erek derich. The Kof he bechinas b'nuk derich. So here we're getting into pairs. So we have, first of all, we had Malchus, that we had Nefesh and Ruach. Then we had Neshama. Then we had Abba and Ima Elohim, which is Yisrael Savat Tavuna, which is another pair. And then we had, that was Neshama from Abba Yisrael Savat Tavuna. Then we move up to Chai, and Chai is from Abba and Ima Elohim. There's another pair. And then we got to Eric Anpin, that's the highest level, is going to have also Eric Anpin and his female counterpart. So we see this always male and female. V'zecha medregas yechida. This is the lego called yechida. V'yache heim meya v'chamishim bechinos. So all together, you put them all together, you have 150 bechinos. So let's talk about what it generally speaking means. He said, as Zav forms up out of the womb of Ima, so to speak. Yesh bo rak nefesh and ruach hakolalim shaharei hazah nikra, parts of ruach, because it has only there been an outer light, which is called nefesh, and another light with inside of it, which is called ruach, and these are the general partsufin, the nefesh and the ruach. Shaharei habezacha benikra, parts of ruach, Gazaz called ruach, l'techein yesh lo nefesh or ruach. So therefore, Zer Anpin is going to have a nefesh and a ruach. That's where it is. He parts of Yisrael Savat Tavuna nikra b'klalos olamos, parts of a neshama. So it's called neshama. And mechem mekabel l'zach la'atma, parts of a neshama. So God Zer Anpin gets the mochin that come from the parts of a neshama. And from this chashach itself, yesh katnas rishon, begadlus rishon. There now is where we see the concept of katnas rishon or godless rishon. Shahari, parts of the shamach azeh shahum bekabel. Then now Zer is getting that. Yesh bo nefesh ruach neshama chai yechida shal neshama. It has those 5 partsufim of the parts of neshama. The nefesh, ruach, and neshama. So then also the nefesh and the ruach and the neshama zu nikra katas rishon shehim partsufim pitzoni, because they're the outside partsufim. V'chein nikroim katnas. So therefore they're called by the name katnas. V'han neshama chay yechida shel neshama. But when you get to the higher levels, which is chay and yechida, the neshama chay and yechida of neshama, that's going to be called godless rishon shehim apenimim shel neshama. Let's go a little bit more, and we'll try to move out. So when we look, it's also they're called by the name, and I put in the word the light of Chaya. And Mekabel is parts of Chaya, and they get the entire parts of Chaya. So what is the parts of Chaya? Is the nefesh ruach shel Chaya zu. So the nefesh and ruach that is coming, remember it's in the Ranchi. So the nefesh and ruach that comes from it. Nikra katnas sheni, it's called katnas sheni because it's coming from a higher level. Shehem apartzufim akitzonim shel medregazu, which is the outside level. So in other words, the outside level is always katnas. But neshama chay yechida, but the nachi, that would be the ran. We call that to say that's the ran of chaya. But the nachi that comes from the chaya was the nesh chay yechida shel chaya, is chayazu. Nikra Gadlus Sheni, it's called by the name Gadlus Sheni. So now this is called Kadlus Rishon. Now we got the idea Kadlus Rishon, Kadlus Sheni. We're looking at it a different way. Shehem Partzufim, but Menimim Shal Madregazu. Now he says of a Chag of Shavuos, because in Chag of Pesach, the level of Mochin is incomplete. So he said that it reaches up to the level of Abba and Ima Eloyin, which is the parts of Chaya, that comes into us at Pesach. But the higher level, and that's called Gadlus Rishon, Gadlus Sheni, let's say like that, Kadlus Sheni and Gadlus Sheni. He says, Uvachag Shavuos Nigdal HaGadlus HaShlishi, then there's a third level of Gadlus, Shemekabel Me'erik Anpin. That's when the Mochin come from Erik Anpin. Shehu Nikra parts of a Yechida, who's called the parts of called Yechida, Shal Klavus Olamos. The Lechem Mekabel B'Menach is parts of a Yechida, so therefore it receives from it, therefore the parts of a Yechida. V'gam Bo Yesh Kadlus V'Gadlus, so also in that, when we come to the after Sphira, and we wind up on the other side of this whole equation in Shavuos, then we have also a third level, which is called Katnas V'Gadlus Shlishi. Shal Nefesh Ruach Shal Yechida, so the Nefesh and Ruach of this parts of called Yechida, Nikra Katnas Shlishi, Shehem HaPartzuf and Mechitzainim, Shal Madregazu. Van the Shamachai Yechida, that's going to be Chagida, Nikraim Gadlus Shlishi, that is Gadlus Shlishi. So then we're going to stop right here. This is Baruch Fleischman, Tikkun Elevator Kola. We'll try to get through it tomorrow so we can get actually into the Drash before Pesach.